Hello friends, Pete the drummer here, and today I'm going to do a follow-up slash update video to the build video that I posted about 10 months ago of my PVC snare drum. That video has gotten a lot of views lately and a lot of interest, and if you're thinking of building your own snare drum using a PVC drum shell, you may want to think again. Okay, friends, thanks for coming back to my YouTube channel. So, about a year ago, in case you haven't seen my build video of my PVC snare drum, about a year ago, I saw a video posted by a guy named Brandon in which he built himself a snare drum using a 14-inch diameter PVC pipe as his drum shell. I thought his drum sounded amazing. I reached out to him. He sold me a piece of his PVC pipe, which I then in turn made my own build video of this very snare drum made out of a PVC shell. At the time, I loved this drum. I thought it sounded amazing. And I uploaded that video, like I said, about 10 months ago. And for the most part, it had gotten a few views initially and some interest, some comments, some questions initially. But for the most part, I had pretty much forgotten about that video. It was just on my site and it got whatever views that it got, and that was it. I'm no big YouTube star or anything like that. But something must have happened in the past 2 weeks. Today is December 19th, 2018. Because in the past 2 weeks, my PVC snare drum build video went from about 2,000 views to currently over 15,000 views. And in the past couple of weeks, I have gotten more comments and questions about this drum and about the build and about what does the drum sound like? What's it like to use PVC as a shell, etc., etc. So I felt I should really do an update because, unfortunately, the sad fact is I don't even use this drum anymore. I loved it at first, I really did, and I do think it sounds good for a very specific tuning range and a very specific sound that you may be looking for. But there are two reasons why I no longer use this drum. The first reason is subjective, and my opinion and thoughts and feelings on those reasons may differ from yours if you were to ever build your own PVC snare drum. The second reason, however, is a practical one, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. So the first reason I don't use this drum anymore is because I have found that this drum, this combination of PVC shell and I guess the head that I'm using, which is a 2-ply Evans EC coated, it sounds best in a medium to low tuning range. So it's great for that super fat drum sound that we sometimes like to get by way of duct tape or these things or one of these things. If you're using any of this stuff to get that sound, this PVC snare that I built for myself, and of course, if you build one, your experience may vary. But for me, this PVC snare that I built for myself kind of achieves that sound, especially in a big live room, without having to use that stuff. And so I thought that was great, because I like that sound. I came up in the 80s, so I'm kind of more into that sort of over-processed, big, deep snare drum sound to begin with. But I'm also a working drummer, and that sound doesn't always work for every band, every type of music, every room that I'm playing in, etc., etc. And so I found that this drum doesn't really have that good of a tuning range. So, like I said, I think it sounds great at a medium to low tuning. And in some rooms, that's awesome. In big rooms or outdoor venues, that's fantastic. This thing sounds like I'm firing off a cannon every time I hit it. It's awesome. But it's not appropriate when my band is playing in a smaller room or on a tighter stage or on a stage that's, surrounded by, brick, or, a stage that accentuates highs versus lows. You know what I'm saying? If you're a working drummer, if you play a bunch of different rooms, you know exactly what I'm saying. You get in there, you set up, and then you tune for the room that you're in. And I found that I had a lot of trouble tuning this drum for the room that I'm in. Now, there could be a couple of reasons for that. It could be the head. It's a 2-ply head, although I use this particular head on all of my snare drums, and I don't have this problem on any of my other drums. I think what it really comes down to as far as the tuning, if you saw my first video, I'm only going to go into this briefly. My first video is linked in the description. Please go watch that. This shell is exactly 14 inches in diameter. I sanded it down as best I could to try and reduce that overall diameter in order for the batter head specifically to fit over the drum as easily and properly as possible. But the truth is, even though the batter head obviously fits, it does not fit properly. And so I think that may, in fact, be affecting this drum's tuning range. I simply cannot tune it as tight or as high pitched as I would want to in certain circumstances. So that's reason number one why I stopped using this. But again, those reasons I understand are subjective. And if you have one of these drums, or if you've built one, that may not be your experience. The second reason I stopped using this drum is, like I said, a practical reason. And I'm going to show you. You'll recall from my first video that these racing stripes that I put on are tape. So you guys, if you watched my first video, you'll recall that the racing stripes that I put onto the drum are just tape. It's a chromed mylar tape. And as you can see here on this lug, I assure you that when I put this tape on the drum, it was straight. But as you can see, over time, you can see it there too. Over time, the tension on the shell and on the lugs have shifted. You follow me? What that means is the shell, the PVC outer wall of the PVC shell, is not strong enough to hold the individual lugs in place. So right now, the batter head is at an even lower tuning than I would tune it normally. I can tune it back up, but this problem is just going to get worse. Now, I think, and maybe if the guy Brandon, he was the guy whose video I saw that inspired me to build this drum. Brandon, if you're watching, maybe you can chime in down in the comments, because I know you used double-sided tube lugs on your drum, whereas I went with individual lugs. I think this problem could have been circumvented by the use of double-sided lugs, where there's tension on each side of the lug, and therefore the lug wouldn't shift. So, unfortunately, there's just nothing I can do about it. Because of the way I drilled these lugs they're offset, they're individual lugs to begin with, and they're offset. So there's absolutely nothing I can do to solve this problem, you know, which unfortunately means this drum is ruined. So all that to say, and I know this, I said I was going to keep it short, and I'm already up to 12 minutes. All that to say, I'm not suggesting that you do not build a PVC drum. By all means, if you have the money and you have the parts and it's something that you're interested in doing, go do it, because it does sound good. It really does. It has its limitations. Let's face it, if PVC made for great drum shells, every drum manufacturer in the world would offer a PVC variant of their drums. But if you're going to make a snare drum for yourself, I would recommend using double-sided tube lugs as opposed to individual lugs like I did. So that's it. In my description is my build video and also a link to the guy Brandon's video, he's the video that I saw that inspired me to build mine. So go watch his as well. And yeah, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. That's it. Keep on drumming. Talk to you guys later.